Welcome to the QBC podcast, where we explore new paradigms in health and science that have a meaningful impact on our day to day lives. I'm your host, Meredith Oak, a curious coach and mom. I started a journey to overcome chronic fatigue and found myself in a whole new quantum universe. I believe new research shouldn't stay locked away in an ivory tower, and that wisdom can be found in many places and understood by all of us. To keep in touch with this podcast, the QBC free community, our episode guide, and all the show notes, please visit qbcpod.com, qbcpod.com. Let's get together to create the future we all want to live in. Welcome back to the QVC podcast. Today we have my friend and colleague, Sarah Kleiner. She's the founder of Sarah Kleiner Wellness and the host of the Evolving Wellness podcast. Sarah was also one of the original participants in the certification in applied quantum biology. She then went on to write the board exam when that became available a few years later. So she is a board certified applied quantum biology practitioner. Sarah is also a rabid researcher. She has done a ton of self-study and done deep dive research using her skills in understanding quantum biology and applied them in a lot of different ways. She has a very robust offering of courses and other resources on various topics. She's particularly good on leptin and weight loss for women. So I love talking to her because I just think she's such a good role model of how to navigate this space as an independent practitioner doing decentralized education. She's done a really good job with it. So she's got lots to share. And today we really focused on talking about sunlight. I know we have a lot of new people in this space who are like, what? Sunlight's really, really good for you and you need it? Like, yes. And I know a lot of you also have people in your life who are still somewhat skeptical of all of this. So Sarah and I focused our conversation around making the sunlight conversation basic and easy for people to understand why to do it. So if you're new to this, this is going to be really helpful. If you're not new, it will be helpful in terms of how to talk about it to other people. And we also dispel some of the myths that have built up around sun and some of the all or nothing thinking that can kind of sabotage things and make it a little harder to move forward. Overall, we had a really good chat. So enjoy my time with Sarah. I certainly did. And there is a summer intensive coming up. Registration is open. So if you are a practitioner or you're in the process of becoming a practitioner and you want to have the essential fundamental pieces of the science in place and have a confident grasp on how to apply them practically, the IAQB certification is the way to go. It's modeled on executive education, which means that we don't spend a lot of time digging into history and theory, a little bit of time, but not a lot of time. It's really very tightly focused on what do you need to know? What do you need to know? What do you need to understand in order to make certain types of recommendations to clients? And then people always come out having connected the dots on all kinds of other things. Oh, this is why sound works. This is why that works. It's super cool. But it's giving you the fundamentals of the quantum biologic language. And then you can go out and write whatever symphony is in your soul with that information and continue down the path of research as Sarah Kleiner has done. So without further ado, here is my conversation with her. If you do you want to get on the list, there's an application form at iaqb.foundation. A link is also there at qbcpod.com. And of course, our friends at bondcharge.com have all the things that you need to live a circadian optimized lifestyle and still not trip over things in the dark and maybe watch a little Netflix before in the evening with your blue blockers. And then Sarah also talks at the end about an app that she's created that's very, very user-friendly and does all kinds of cool stuff, like measure the lux of your bedroom to make sure it's dark enough. We're such nerds. I love it. Okay, enjoy my conversation with Sarah. Thanks, everyone. Sarah Kleiner, welcome back. Good to see you.
Good to see you as always. Thank you for having me.
I love having you, and I'm excited because today we're going to talk about sunlight and all the ways that it's amazing for us. But first, I wanted to start. So I did an interview earlier this week with the founders, husband and wife who founded Bond Charge. And because they're
Mm.
in Australia, the interview was at like 8 p.m. So when I was having dinner with the family, I made all my children come up with questions for the Bond Charge people.
Oh,
And
fun.
my daughter, Twyla, who's 11, she was like, ask him how the orange glasses get orange. So I did, and it was like a really fun answer that I'm like, I didn't actually know
Yeah.
that. So I said, Twyla, that was a really good question. Thanks. She's like, no problem. When's your next podcast? I'm like, it's with my friend Sarah Kleiner. And she's like, oh, what does she do? I said, she's a health coach. She's like, okay, you should ask her why she became a health coach. And I was
Oh
like,
gosh.
okay. And then she pauses and she goes, does she have any siblings? I said, yeah, she has a sister. She said,
Two.
two sisters. Okay. She goes, you should ask her what they think of all this quantum biology stuff.
I love that. You should I should have her over to help me create questions for my guests.
She's available.
Amazing. Summer internship.
So anyway, I like that's actually fun. Like, what do your
Yeah.
sisters think of all this? Like, everyone has people in their family who are like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I'm the black sheep of the family, absolutely. Yeah, we'll just say that. We are I mean, I love my sisters very, very dearly, and we're close. We talk almost every day, really, but we don't talk about health because we have a lot of disagreements on that topic. And yeah, it's can be a little bit touchy that we definitely choose to raise our children differently than one another, and we choose to live our lives differently. Um, and yeah, and it's a touchy situation. There's definitely differences in our health. I will say that without kind of, I don't know. I love them so much, so I never want to
Yeah.
talk badly about my own family, but it's hard to watch my sisters who are younger than me. I'm the oldest. It's hard to watch them begin to really struggle with their health. We're in
Yeah.
our 40s. I just turned 46 yesterday. And
Happy birthday.
thank you. They're younger than me. And so I have a hard time like biting my tongue and not saying stuff because I'm like, that problem you're dealing with is completely preventable through sunlight exposure, diet, lifestyle changes. But I think they've seen me go through so many different ways of looking at health and trying on so many different hats over the years. And it's been since we were like children, I was always the one
Right.
getting them to dance to Richard Simmons, sweating to the oldies, like they would come along on my wild ideas. They're like, okay. And then after a while, they're like, she's insane. We're not doing this anymore. So I get it. I understand why they don't want to like listen, but yeah, that's kind of that story.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, and I have a brother. He's like 100% uninterested in any of this.
Yeah.
He's like, uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, we can still have a relationship and do all the
Yeah.
things, and it's fun. It's interesting the eye of the beholder, right? Because when it's your sister, and you're
Mhm.
like, oh God, what is she into now? But
Correct.
as a friend, as a colleague, I see it as the evolution of
Mhm.
your education, trying all of these different things and your
Mhm.
spiritual development and your, growth as a practitioner is through the experiential learning that you had by trying things out since you were a child.
You learn a lot about what doesn't work,
Mhm.
you really do. And that's a lot of on social media right now. I just did a post about nutrition half truths because It seems as though if you really talk in an authoritative tone and you talk down to people, even if what you're saying is not true, or there's maybe a bit of truth to it, that people really love that. And they really will, you'll grow fast, you'll go viral, you'll get all the clicks and the likes. And I can't operate that way, number one. But number two, it's really become the lay of the land, unfortunately. And it's hurting people. It is really hurting people. I sit across from people on Zoom on a very regular basis that they have bought in, like really 100% bought into some of these really polarizing people online. And I did the same thing. Like I said, I've learned a lot about what doesn't work. And it's not good what happens to people on the other end. I wish
Yeah.
that people that have made these online personas could see the things that I see. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they get the emails and the messages from people, or maybe they've chosen to look a blind eye to, draw a blind eye towards it. I don't know, but it's wild out there. It really is.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. I mean, there's something about someone just speaking authoritatively and like maybe making you feel like a little bit stupid.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you're just like, "What? Tell me more." And having it
Right.
be on a screen, there's like something about your
With
it somehow
professional
imbues like an authoritative
with
presence,
good
like,
camera work and good
yeah.
editing, and yeah, that's how it works. You guys, it's called the mainstream media that you've rejected.
Yes. But that's the thing, we were trained on it.
Yeah.
So we're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna reject those people on CNN, but like this guy on Instagram can feed me any nonsense. It's fine.
There I'm just not interested in having I wanna have thoughtful dialogue with people. I wanna
Yeah.
connect with people and have a meaningful conversation. I really do. I don't wanna tell people exactly what to do because I don't know exactly what someone should do. I know some great foundations that I think everyone should have in place, but there's so much nuance to the individual person, and it does a big disservice when we make people think that they can't survive without us. You know, I
Yes.
I think a post I did recently said something like the worst teachers are the ones that think that the healing was all because of them, that you couldn't do it without them. And the best teachers are the ones who remind you that the healing was yours all along, you know?
Yeah. Yes, and to empower ourselves to remember that, and while we have help along the way and support along the way and learn from mentors and
Mhm.
practitioners, it's inner work.
Mhm.
And so you mentioned foundational pieces that to have in place, and then beyond that, there's lots of nuance. So one of those foundational pieces is for sure the sun and
Mhm.
sunlight. And I just want to do a deep dive into that. We have a lot of new listeners and even people who've been around for a while. It's like, I think it's really worth just going through some of the key ways that we uh, benefit from not cutting ourselves off from what is essentially the source of light of life. And, we talk
Yeah.
about obviously safe and sensible ways to do that. But let's just start with why we need the sun.
Well, light really gives the body instructions to do everything we need it to do. That's a basic. We want the right type of light at the right times, and then the right, enough darkness and darkness period at the right times. This clock in our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, it really is giving instructions to everything in your body. And so we're meant to run on what's called a circadian rhythm. Now, this is being studied in big pharma. It has been for a long time. I know you've had Dr. Seahold on here, and he and I talked about the same thing of this whole thing of medicine studying the circadian timing of medication, how certain times of day it's going to work better, certain times of day there's a chance for more toxicity. Our body is the same thing. Our gut runs on this rhythm. Certain times of the day we have more digestive function, more stomach acid, more enzymatic function, certain times of the day. Hormones are meant to start going in a symphony, run on a circadian rhythm. Again, this should be signaled by light and darkness. And so if we're missing these crucial elements as it's a foundation, our metabolism's not going to work properly. Our gut's not going to work properly. Our brain's not going to work properly. The information on circadian health and mental health is extensive. You know, all the dysfunction, all the things that everyone talks about, gut health, mental health, and hormone health, those are the big hot topics in the holistic wellness and alternative wellness space. That's a foundation, for any of these things to work. And I think that people are so quick to look at what supplement can I take and what diet can I do. And not that those things don't have a time and a place, but if the foundation is weak, as in your circadian rhythms aren't dialed in, good luck. Good luck with those things working as effectively as they could or should.
Right. And I think that's the piece that so many people are still missing. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess I feel better when I go outside. But it's like you wouldn't go a day without drinking water, right? Like you wouldn't go an
Yeah.
extended period of time without eating real food.
Right.
And yet we still sort of, I don't think it's truly landed. I know for a lot of people listening to this podcast, it has. Um, but for all your friends and neighbors and family, right?
Mm-mm.
Like it hasn't
It's
truly
still.
landed. Like
Mm-mm.
we are an extension of this light source.
Mm-hmm.
And without it, we can't, like everything else is a band-aid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can keep trying to push things together and make things work, but if you don't have the foundation, like I said, good luck. It's going to be that much more difficult. So, and metabolism is a big one. I always say I kind of trick people to come into my deeper work through talking about weight loss because yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can use this to improve your metabolism. I have. I've struggled with my weight my entire life. Was lost 100 pounds 3 times. Just really a lot of struggles with my metabolic health. Even on a really quote unquote clean diet, my fasting blood sugar was still high. It was still 90s, low 100s a lot of days. And until I added these elements of light, and it's very simple, people think it has to be the way that we're taught a specific protocol and getting X amount of minutes. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to provide the brain with the right signals for the metabolism to function optimally. And what the research clearly shows us is that if your days, your mornings are too dim and your nights are too bright, then that alone slows down the metabolism. So you can,
Wow.
again, go on a very restrictive diet, eat clean, try to do all the things, yet live the way that everyone lives, which is waking up in the morning, looking at the phone, turning on lights indoors. And indoors, your lux, which is a measure of brightness, is going to max out typically around 500. And that's very, very bright. I would say the lux in my house, when I've measured it, is like 30 because we don't do a bunch of overhead lights. When you go outdoors, even on a cloudy, overcast day, the lux can get up to like 10,000. And the brain needs a minimum of about 1,000. When you look at all the data and the research together, it needs about a minimum of 1,000, up to 10,000 in that morning window, as well as the signals from sunlight. We get the red, the infrared, that's important for mitochondria. We get UV light, that's important for metabolism, for fat burning. We get all of that from simply stepping outside during those windows of time. It's such a huge boost for the metabolism and the mitochondria, which is essentially the body's energy management system. If those don't work, then again, good luck. But our indoor living, our modern life prevents us from getting those signals. There's no red and infrared indoors. There's no UV light indoors because we have energy efficient homes. And we've been taught that UV light is harmful. So we block it all out. So that alone can slow down your metabolism. And that has been studied over and over again. So you can fact check
This
me
is
on that.
crazy. I mean, this is crazy. Like if I was talking to my college roommate a few months ago, and she's like, "Oh, I put on weight. I didn't change anything. It was, it's hormonal." And so we just like revert back to what we learned when we were paying attention, even if it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. So she's like, got to get a Peloton and like start, skipping lunch or something. And the idea that her hormones and her metabolism is all is connected could be affected by the light that she's getting. Like she was,
Right.
like it just seemed insane. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us like a little more about how light controls our metabolism, right? Like I know this is for my college roommate, Julie. That's who this question is for.
Well, there's a lot of elements to light that signal the metabolism. I kind of just jumbled them all in there, but to break it down simply, sunrise is when we get that first little hit of blue that tells the brain, let's, turn off melatonin, start gradually making cortisol. And if you go online, there's this whole cortisol face, cortisol this, cortisol that. Cortisol is the root of all evil for weight gain. And the reason you're gaining weight is your cortisol. And it's like, so again, like it's a partial truth. We are meant to have cortisol rise in the morning, and that's with that timing of the blue light that's from outdoors. So at sunrise, we get this beautiful red and infrared that speaks directly to mitochondria, that allows us to make this metabolic water, that allows us to expand the cellular water in the body, which is like a battery of energy. So you think about, we're supporting mitochondria, which, as I mentioned, is the body's energy management system, by getting out there at sunrise, getting that hit of blue light. It's a very little bit of blue light that comes on the horizon at sunrise, and it's gradual to make cortisol in this natural, gradual way. Now, I mentioned lux. There's a difference between lux and Kelvin. I know this can confuse people. There's a lux meter in my app, my Circadian app, that we'll talk about later on in the episode, I'm sure. But indoors, the lux is way too low. As I mentioned, maybe a 500 maximum. Most places, it's going to be much dimmer than that. So you've got the element of lux being too dim, but then you have the Kelvin being way too high. So Kelvin is another measurement of light, and Kelvin in our indoor modern lighting bulbs are like 5,700, 6,000. Your iPhone screen or your phone screen is usually 5,700 or 6,000. So that is enough blue light, enough brightness, again, not brightness, but enough blue light really, and intensity. Kelvin is like intensity of that light. Intensity also signals the brain and says, hey, it's the middle of the day. It's June. It's in the middle of the day, even though it might be December at, like 7 a.m. It's a signal to that clock in the brain that is activated by blue light. It says you got to hurry up and make more cortisol because we've slept in, and now you got to hurry up and make more. So we get a natural rise of cortisol. We get metabolic support, mitochondrial support from sunrise. We get a metabolic confusion, or as Chat GPT would call it, metabolic chaos. Everyone's using Chat GPT these days. Everyone's got metabolic chaos. Like, I know you use Chat GPT for your post because you just said hormone chaos. Anywho, your phone is giving you metabolic chaos, hormone chaos. Sunlight is this beautiful symphony of light that gives your body the right signals. And so that's the first window of light that you really want to get out there for. Then we have UV light, which, as I mentioned, has really been demonized, but UV light, especially in the eyes and then on the skin, there's some benefits as well, but it's eye and skin. I've got the papers on that in my leptin master plan course. It tells the brain to make something called alpha MSH, which is kind of like fat burning, right? So it boosts your metabolism in a very non-scientific explanation. It's boosting your metabolism, boosting fat burning, and it regulates your appetite. So I have a lot of people that come to me that they have no appetite in the morning. They're just like, oh, guess what? That's probably too much cortisol from what did I just mention before? The phone screen and the lights, part of it, stress, the coffee, getting this huge spike. And of course, you're not hungry. And so the way I have people to start regulating their appetite is sunrise light, because that's going to start those metabolic clocks spinning appropriately. But then you've got UV light where you get production of serotonin, dopamine, alpha MSH, and that can help to regulate the appetite. So if you're someone who's never been hungry in the morning, I'm like, don't force feed yourself. Maybe have like a little something, a little protein, get it started, but don't make yourself sick. But go outside during that UVA window. When UVA first begins to come online, that's right after sunrise, depending on where you are. That's why I put that in my app, my circadian app, so you can understand. Oh, it's 45 minutes after sunrise. It's in the app. It'll tell you. Try to get out there at the beginning of that. And if you can spend 20 minutes out there, that can do wonders for your appetite and your metabolism. Plus, you get the lux. You get that appropriate amount of lux and brightness. So for metabolic benefits, that's really, and there's more elements to it, right? We could probably have a 6 hour long podcast about all of
Yeah.
this, but this is a dumbed down.
Yes, we just want the essentials. It's like, yeah, I like to give enough information for people to be able to decide to take action, right? And then
Mhm.
if it's important to you to understand every little minutia of the science, there by all means go study it. But I
Mhm.
think for most people, it's like, especially, it's like I need to know enough to for this to make sense
Mhm.
cognitively. Like my intellect needs enough information to be able to
Mhm.
say, okay, that is a logical good choice.
Yeah.
And we're also, when it comes to the sun, we also are having to counterbalance like 20 years worth of propaganda saying that the sun is going to kill us and we should never
Uh-huh.
go, we should be covered up every,
Yeah.
everywhere
Yeah.
every time we go outside. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. We
yeah,
also
I
get
think that's
nitric
why.
oxide, which is, I've been talking a lot about perimenopause because I'm in the thick of it myself. I'm at that age, but I feel like this stuff helps so much. And one thing that can happen to a woman as she goes towards menopause is nitric oxide levels go way down. Now, this is also true in people with cardiovascular issues. And one of the things that UV light does, and if you can get that morning UVA light, get that process started in the morning, is increase your body's nitric oxide production. So that's going to improve circulation. Again, another metabolic boost, beta endorphin. So a lot of people start to do this stuff and they're like, I crave it. I need it. That's how I am now. But your body makes beta endorphins in the morning. And it's such a great, and dopamine. It's so many wonderful things. It's such a great way to start your day rather than scrolling and coffee.
Yeah. And just on the coffee, would your guidance be to push it later for those of us who still like to have our coffee?
I do. I like people to push it a bit later. I'll do good structured mineral water, some hydrogen water when I first wake up, walk around the backyard grounding with my dog. She's like the reason I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go outside and walk around because my dog just has to go out. So grounding, water. Then I go inside and eat something. Then I'll have some coffee. I went a couple of years without coffee, and but yeah, it it improved my HRV. It improved my sleep. Probably was supportive to thyroid and adrenals. Helped me probably get pregnant, stay pregnant, and But then my son was born. Life got crazy, and I just missed my coffee. So I have coffee, but I always have sunlight, some grounding, some hydration, some breakfast, then I'll have some coffee. And then I cut myself off by 9 o'clock. I just don't do it after 9 a.m. because it can be a circadian disruptor for sure.
Mm, right. Because it's giving that cortisol spike when you're perhaps
Mhm.
not meant to be having it.
Yeah. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Then let's talk about sunrise for a little bit. So I know for me there are certain times of the year where I am up at sunrise, but
Mhm.
there are also certain times of the year where sunrise is so early that I am fast
Mhm.
asleep at sunrise.
Mhm.
So I would say it's probably like an hour later that I wake up and go outside. Am I still getting
Yeah.
benefits? And for people who, you know, for whatever scheduling reasons are not up at sunrise, is it just like go outside and get the morning light, whatever time it is? Is that still
What
helping?
I've learned about just coaching and teaching and understanding this whole thing is it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. You know, just start to develop some consistency. And yeah, it's in the summer, and I have people that live way up in Canada and Sweden and places where the sun doesn't even set in the summer, which can be a whole other conversation. I feel like I need to do a video for my YouTube channel because I keep getting so many people with these questions. And I have a whole module about it in my Sunwise course and in my leptin course. Like I have modules behind my in my courses that go into this and give you tons of strategies and protocols. But what I've kind of come to the conclusion of after working with so many people and so many people in my community is that number one, it's consistency over perfection. I think in the summertime, it's really just more important to have a consistent wake time and a consistent sleep time. And we typically, unless someone's dealing with a chronic illness, they're really trying to heal from something, we can get away with a little bit less sleep in the summer than we need more in the winter. Like summer is vitamin D season. We're supposed to be soaking it up. We're supposed to have longer days, make a little bit more cortisol. Winter, we're supposed to be sleeping more, really pumping out that melatonin, pumping in repair, autophagy, all that really supposed to be in repair mode in the winter. That's a whole other conversation because most people live like it's summer year round. But I think that in the summertime, wake times, if you can get a little bit of sunrise in there, I mean, just before UV light hits, it's going to be a little bit of a different signal than the UV. So, yeah, it's just really going to depend on where you live. I live in Georgia, so the latest our sunrise really comes up, I think, is like 6:30. That's doable.
Yeah.
But if it was 5:30, girl, I'd be sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. It's 5:30 and I'm like,
I'm not getting up at
yeah,
5:30 in the
6:15
morning.
is my earliest. And I've tried forcing myself to get up because I'm like, I have to see the sunrise. That's the thing. And I'm really tired all day, even with the
Mhm.
sunrise, because I just wasn't ready to get up.
I know Dr. Sarah, she's flying in here tomorrow. She's gonna be staying with me for like a month,
Oh,
starting
great.
tomorrow. Is she doesn't have children. She does live in the UK, and I know she gets up for the sunrise there, which is like 4 in the morning in the summer. But I can't do that. Wouldn't do that probably. Even if I lived in the UK, I probably would still be like 6:30 gal.
Yeah. No, that's okay, good. I'm glad we had this chat and I wanted to have it because I know that when you're first learning something, everyone wants to like do it perfectly.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
we develop all these purity tests and everything. And it's like, you know,
No.
close enough is good enough. And consistency is the key.
My
Absolutely.
my group members are so good now. They repeat it to me. They're like consistency over perfection. And I think I say that in a lot of my courses at the end of each lesson. I really want to
Hmm.
drill that into people because we can't be like we just literally cannot be perfect.
Yeah.
We can be consistent though to the best of our ability. And when our head hits the pillow at night, we know we did our best. We can do that. But life's going to happen sometimes. It really is. And so you just consistency is going to go a long way. And remember that for most of your life, you didn't have access to this information, you weren't implementing it, and now here we are. So let's just do our best.
Yep. And we will. So, yeah, it's consistent sun, not perfect sun.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what do you hear from people? Like, what are some of the biggest sun myths that you'd like to burst? And then I have some other stuff I
Mm.
want to ask you.
More is better.
Hmm.
Avoiding seed oils will give you the superpower ability to lay out in the sun for 6 hours straight in a UV of 11. No,
Yeah.
don't do that.
No.
Mm-mm. And I think a lot of people, myself included, came into this information and what I was following people who said that. And I did photo age my skin. I did get some wrinkles, you know, from overdoing it. And now you can find me in a wide brimmed hat, a visor. I still don't wear sunscreen because I'm never in a situation where I can't control the amount of sun that I'm getting. I can always go to the shade or put on some clothing like cover up. But I think that there's so many researchers out there, and there are people that want the clicks and the views and the likes. And so they put out this information that's very dogmatic and again talks down to people and is just rude. I'm like, I read some of these posts and I'm like, rude.
Yeah.
Like, how does this have 3,000 likes? It's rude. I don't like it. I don't like to see people being talked to that way. And then they're like, but I can never, but I don't. And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way, guys. There can be a case where someone may need to wear a non-nano zinc oxide sunscreen. There may be a case, and this is blasphemy, where someone may need to wear a pair of sunglasses that are something like Raw Optics Blue Sync, or I know Bon Charge has some that they won't shut down your circadian rhythm, but our eyes are not meant to get glare off of sidewalks, off of water, off of really white sand like you see on the Gulf.
Mhm.
I mean, like that hurts. It damages the retina. It puts your body and your nervous system into a state of fight flight. It's an unnatural reflection of the sun and it can hurt your eyes. That's one of the biggest like pet peeves of mine lately is that people, if you live in Canada and you've decided to go to Florida and it's March, you need to be really careful. Like you can really burn yourself if you think that you're avoiding seed oils and you're going out in the morning for sunrise and for UVA and you can spend all day on the beach. Like, you know, you may not want to do that. Not to say that
Yeah.
those things don't help. They absolutely do help. I just put out an article in my newsletter recently about skin protective foods. You've got astaxanthin. There are phytochemicals and compounds in things like lycopene that do protect the skin from strong UV and that they actually have some like built-in sunscreen effects. There is a lot of scientific data that shows things like seed oils can actually mutate and cause skin cancers. And I put those papers in that article as well. But it doesn't make us immune. Like there's a certain point that everyone's body will come to, depending on your Fitzpatrick skin type, depending on if you've built up resilience and solar tolerance and callus. So, yeah, that's my long-winded answer on that.
Yes. Yes, and it goes back to like that perfectionism thing and the ability to have like a balanced mind and a
Mhm.
mature cognitive capacity where it's like, oh, the sun is really good for me, but that doesn't mean 8 hours outside in a UV 11 when I'm fair skinned
Right,
and I'm not used to it is good for me. Like it's not all one thing.
right.
There is balance. Like fat is good for me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to eat an all fat diet.
Or nothing but sugar. That's the new thing.
Yeah.
The sugar diet that's got everyone. I'm like,
What?
why are you guys so mad about this right now? People are so mad about the sugar diet. I'm just
What's
like,
the sugar
please,
diet?
girl.
I only
Oh, I
follow
know.
like you and my quantum people. So when weird things happen, I'm like, what? What's happening? What's this
It's a
craze?
it's a thing. It's a thing people are doing. Mark Bell is doing it and just talking about how shredded he's getting from it. It's so dumb.
Put a picture of yourself looking fit on the internet and then say, I got looking
Sugar
like this by
diet.
doing this. And it's like somehow proof that that's the best thing to do for everybody. What?
I
Sugar diet?
know.
So like fruit or like
Fruit,
sugar?
candy, like fruit and candy is what people are maple syrup, honey. Uh,
Sorry, what's the like rationale for like what are they?
It's hitting the other side of the Randall cycle. And there is a hormone, I think it's called FG1. I don't know. I talked with Dr. Sarah about this whole thing on my YouTube channel, and all the carnivores came out of the woodwork and were like pissed off, which we weren't even like saying people should do it. We were just discussing it and like what it was and how it worked. Everyone got so mad.
You
And they
can't
were all
talk
like,
about sugar. Yeah,
ugh.
we get a little attached to
Mhm.
these concepts, don't we? And then they become like our
Personality.
safety, our safety
Mhm.
blanket, our personality. And so
Mhm.
whenever any information and especially if it comes through someone who we think is on our side and it's like interfering with what we believe the way it's supposed to be, we are really triggered.
Yeah. I just don't, I'm not on anyone's like quote unquote side. I think I piss people off because even the sun stuff, I'm like, yeah, sometimes you might need to protect your eyes on the water or on snow. Sometimes you might need to,
Which is a true and reasonable thing to say, and it's only
yeah,
because a lot of us came to this information through such a,
dogmatic.
one-sided, dogmatic, puritanical, stupid, really,
Hmm.
approach
Hmm.
that, like, of course you need to wear goggles when you're skiing. Of course you need to protect your eyes if you're out on a boat or anywhere with
Hmm.
a glare.
Hmm.
And our family learned that, like, we were like, oh, we want to get as much sun as possible. And we went on a ski trip and we had gone on like a beach trip and we'd been, we didn't use sunscreen. We did all the other things instead and went in the shade when we got pink and all this stuff. And it was great. So then we went on a
Hmm.
ski trip and we're like, all the sun all the time. And we didn't put on sunblock. And one day we were in like the Alps, which is really high altitude. It
High
was it was
UV.
stupid. It
Yeah.
was stupid.
Yeah.
And after one day, we are like, we're idiots. We bought some zinc. But
Yeah.
this is
It's
how
like
we
people just
learn.
have to learn for themselves. I mean, I did. I had to learn for myself. Thankfully, there's no irreparable damage that's been done. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to do irreparable damage. I don't know why I can't talk today. Because people freak out about this stuff and think that they have with their health. And I always say you're only broken if you say you are. You there's no point of return if you say there's no point of return. So yeah, we screw up when we make mistakes, but we have highly adaptable bodies if we can course correct. So, sunburn, okay, oops. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, the UV light will cause the photo damage, and so
Mhm.
I've become as well a hat wearer. So
Mhm.
people who've met me in the last 5 years are like, "Oh, you really love wearing hats." I'm like, "Oh, I do now." This is just about, yeah, developing a way of living that's not insane, that doesn't
Yeah.
feel super hard. Like maybe
Yeah.
changing habits in the beginning does require a lot of support. That's why I think it's good you have communities, that there are health coaches,
Mhm.
right? Like we do need that support to change things, to do new things that maybe the people in our normal lives are like, why would you do that? But once it becomes a habit, you don't have to think about it anymore.
Right. Correct.
And you don't have to hold yourself to some kind of like, false standard
Mhm.
that you've concocted from various Instagram posts of people telling you there's only one way to do things.
Mhm. Exactly.
So, before we wrap up, I want to talk about the app because for anyone listening who does want to embrace the sun, I want to say Sarah and I have both embraced this way of life. And I don't know, I think we look really good. I don't feel wrinkled. You look way younger than you just said you were. So it's
Thank
fun. I have more energy. I feel so much better. I no longer suffer from chronic fatigue. And it's not like everything's perfect all of the time, but it's like if you've ever changed your eating habits and you're like, "Oh wow, how did I ever eat that way before? I feel so much better." It's like that with the sun.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And a
Yeah.
very helpful way to like get inside of this and do it sensibly and effectively is to use the circadian app that Sarah had made. She hired a designer and like she's like, here's all the things that are important to track, like make an app. Tell us tell us about it because I think it's really good.
Yeah. It's called My Circadian app. It's all one word. And I had a lot of clients and people with brain fog, and I was giving them several different apps to help them to figure out these different things. And so the app will essentially let you know what time daybreak, sunrise, UVA, which we talked about those earlier in the episode, why they're important. UVB, that's when we actually make vitamin D because most people have no idea that you only can synthesize D at certain parts of the day and certain parts of the year. So the app's going to let you know when that happens for you. And it has a timer in there so you can put in your skin type and how much clothing you're wearing. And the app will say you need to, it'll kind of gauge the time based on UV index, skin type, clothing, how safe it is for you to be out there. Now, obviously, you never want to override your own tuition because an app says you have like 2 more minutes. If you feel like really warm and you're getting that erythema dose in the skin, you're feeling kind of warm, then go, get out of it. But I find it to be pretty spot on for people that are just building a relationship with the sun. So that timer, the D timer, will help you to figure out how long is appropriate for you to be out in that stronger light. Also lets you know when sunset happens, when nightfall happens. I use that as my reminder to get the blue blockers out, start mitigating the artificial light at night because we didn't even really talk about that, but that's another huge metabolic ish destroyer, really. And there's tons of literature on that. I know Meredith has tons of episodes on that, but the app will let you know when that's happening. And then with the full version, you can forecast up to 5 days in advance. So you can know what time sunrise is tomorrow, the next day, UVA, right? Because these times change, as we mentioned with the early sunrises in the summer. It's not like that in the winter. It's a bit later in the winter. So these times just change a little bit every single day, depending on where you live. The further north you live, the more extreme the change is from day to day. Like me, it's a little more moderate, but it really gives you all in one what you need to know. It's got a lux meter. So you can understand, am I getting enough lux in the morning? Even if it's cloudy and rainy, I'm going to measure my lux, and that's going to give me that little extra motivation to get out there and get that light, even though it's not very pretty, it's not very fun. And then you can measure lux in your bedroom at night too, because there's also studies, and the app has tons of studies in there. So it backs up all this information that you want to have your lux below 10 the 3 hours leading up to bed, along with the blue blockers. And so you can measure from
Oh,
where you're sitting, like, is it dim enough here? Because I've seen people sit in front of these really bright red light therapy panels that can trigger the cortisol response if that goes in your
right.
eyes. So it's just got all that. And it's got a moon tracker to tell you phases of the moon. It's got a compass to tell you north, south, east, and west. Um, so lots of cool stuff in there. And we even just got a red screen mode. So you can go
Oh,
in settings.
cool.
Yeah, you can go in settings and it'll adapt the app for red screen mode so that you can see, because red screen will wipe out certain apps. You're like, what's happening? So it has a red screen mode now, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend downloading this app, My Circadian app, because it's like one of those things you're like, okay, like I'll do the sunlight thing. And then as you start doing it, you're like, oh, wait, what about this? Oh, wait, what about that? And so this app just answers all the questions and it, you're keeping yourself safe and not staying out too long. And then, as you said, Sarah, eventually you'll know intuitively, but it's a really great way to get started and stay on track. I use it all the time. I didn't know about the like using it in my bedroom to make sure it's dark enough. That's a good
Mhm.
pro tip.
Your sleeping environment
Love
needs to
it.
be less than a 1, but that evening environment, 10 and below, the
Mm-hmm.
3 hours leading up to bed. So yeah, Sarah and I, when we watch TV I'll put a pair of blue blockers over the lens and like measure, like, okay, we're good. Can watch TV. Cover up the skin, watch a little TV.
Okay, good. I was going to ask, I'm like, what if you're wearing blue blockers but watching Netflix?
Yeah.
So we're still okay.
Yeah.
And good. All right. Well, thanks for jumping on and sharing all of this. It's going to be so helpful. And this is such a good episode to share with your friends who are like, what are you doing? Why are you wearing those glasses? What's going on? Where's your SPF 50? You can just send them this episode. That's what this is for. And you can follow Sarah at Sarah Kleiner Wellness on Instagram. She provides tons of great information on there. You have a newsletter and, of course, the Circadian app.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Alrighty.
This has been the Quantum Biology Collective podcast. To find a practitioner who practices from this point of view, visit our directory at quantumbiologycollective.org. If you are a practitioner, definitely take a look at the Applied Quantum Biology Certification, a 6-week study of the science of the new human health paradigm and its practical application with your patients and clients. We also love to feature graduates of the program on this very podcast. Until next time, the QBC.